What's going on, everybody? I'm Mitchell Leach II, the founder and president of Interns to Pros. Y'all know I'm excited. Y'all know I am hyped. We are at the 2022 Internship Success Summit, and we're excited for our first panel, The Art of Building Relationships. And we have some phenomenal panelists here. So rather than me go and introduce each and every one of them, because I will be yapping and I'll just take up half the time talking about how great they are, I'll go through and let them introduce themselves to you. So first, we'll go with Jill. Jill, how's it going?
Hey Mitchell, how are you? So
Good.
excited to be here. My name is Jillian Buffard, and I am the manager of learning and development at ESPN. I've been with the company for over 20 years. It seems like such a long time, but it's been such an amazing journey. And part of what I love about my current role is that I get to help interns like yourself make connections at our company and have a really positive experience. So I support a lot of our career services work, our new hire orientation, leadership development, and I just really have a passion in this space and really have enjoyed working with Mitchell through the years and honored that he asked me to be a part of this. So thank you so much.
Cool. Cam.
All right. Hey, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here. My name is Cameron Parker, and I'm a talent acquisition partner at IBM. And I just said to echo some of the things Jill was sharing, I really do enjoy connecting with students, with early professionals, and people in the professional level as well. But I remember my start whenever my first part of my career working at ESPN and going to a career fair and connecting with somebody at the table and how much that experience meant for me. And now I get to do that experience with so many students now all over the world. So I'm very grateful to be here. And I really do enjoy just helping people reach their dreams.
For sure. For sure. Last but not least, Zuri.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me, Mitchell. I appreciate it and look forward to dropping any gems that I can. By way of introduction, I'm Zuri Godfrey. I'm originally from Hampton, Virginia, and am now based in the Bay Area of California, where I live in Oakland, work in San Francisco at Google as an associate product marketing manager. And in that, work for ads product area and help carry out the social media strategy on how we activate content across our social channels. In addition to that, I'm also a DEI lead within my entry level program where I have the pleasure of being able to help and mentor and guide interns through their internship with Google, as myself was a former intern at Google and also ESPN as well. Good to see you, Jill. And yeah, that's me. Look forward to the questions we have today.
That's what's up. Well, first off, y'all better, students, y'all know how we do. Y'all better take some notes and then go implement this amazing wisdom that you're about to get. So let's jump right in. So this is the Internship Success Summit. And so what I want to do is say, let's kick off about internships. So how would you describe the power of internships? We'll start with Zuri this time. How would you describe the power of an internship?
Yeah, the power of being an intern in the an internship program is huge. And there's one point that I want to anchor in, and it's the fact that as an intern, you are looked at and have eyes on you in the sense that people want to connect with you, engage with you, and there's also an expectation for you to bring new ideas, fresh ideas to the table. And so, going on that point, as an intern, compared to being even an entry level professional, I can speak to that now where I'm the most junior person on the team. And so, from that perspective, you would think an intern, okay, they're even more junior, so they may not even have more say at the table, or they may not even be able to raise their hand as much or even meet with more senior leaders. But to be honest, as an intern, that's when I was able to provide my unsolicited feedback, advice, ideas, and be able to connect with different talent. And a specific example to end my answer to the question is when I was interning at ESPN, I actually got a chance to meet with the CEO of ESPN virtually on a one on one. And had I been a entry level professional at ESPN, I'm not sure if he would have responded to that email, or if his assistant would have responded to that email. So that's a quick example, but the main point is, as an intern, you have a unique position to where you're expected to contribute new ideas, fresh perspectives, and you also have the access to use the intern card to meet with people as junior or as senior as you desire.
So good, so good, and somebody who watched from afar, and we all have seen this. Like, to be proactive in your internship is imperative, and it's invaluable. And Zuri is one of the best I've ever seen in terms of not only acquiring an internship, but really optimizing, fully maximizing the opportunity from day one. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but tremendous, tremendous, tremendous. Jill, what would you have to say? How would you describe the power of completing internships?
It's just a fantastic opportunity on so many levels because when you think about entry level positions specifically, right? Now, typically there may be one, two, three positions available, and there are thousands of applicants. I think specifically when I was hiring for ESPN production assistants, I mean, the interest is, I mean, we all know on this call, like the interest is phenomenal. So in order to really help position yourself well to land that role, when you have an internship, you have a leg up on the competition who are just like cold applying on the website, don't know anybody on the inside, don't really understand the culture at, the business that you're applying to. As an intern, you have that firsthand experience. So now not only are you performing the role, developing skills, growing your knowledge, you're expanding your connections. You're building those relationships, which are so key to helping you land that role. And you're getting a sense of what the culture is like. So, not only departmentally, but when you think about the company as a whole, how are all these departments collaborating together? What is this business really about? And that's just invaluable experience. So, really, to double down on what Zuri said, to be able to maximize that unique position is so crucial. And then when it comes time for that open position to, have somebody hired into it, you have those relationships in place and you have those skills and you know exactly what they're going to be looking for. And that's a great way to sell yourself. And again, just position yourself well to land that role. So invaluable.
So good there, and wow, just a wealth of insight there from both lens, like from the intern's perspective, but also from the company's perspective. And you always have to. I know for me, and what we teach here to the interns to pros crew is like, look, think of it on both sides, because both sides are valuable in terms of how you view things, how you see things in terms of the people and the opportunity. Cam, how would you say? How would you describe the power of completing internships?
Yeah, I love that. I love everything that y'all just said there, and definitely that relationship angle. One thing I will say, one lens of completing an internship, an advantage is understanding what you don't want to do. And which was a big thing for me in college because whenever I wanted to go into media, whenever I had those aspirations in college, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to do radio or television. And I got internships in both areas. And completing that internship, getting the day to day on the job, understanding what you're going to do, what's going on, and getting more insight into the business is going to give you more understanding, more feedback to know what direction you do want to go eventually. And maybe your aspiration was really into, like I want to do one thing, and then you get there into the company, and it's like, that internship wasn't quite what I expected it to be. Now, I'm not going to say that should totally make you change your mind completely just on one experience, but it does give some valuable insight for you to just understand what to expect in your next step in your career. So I would say just really approach your internships with with the lens of learning, with the lens of understanding, and really taking that knowledge and those skills you're receiving, build that resume, and help it make you reach a decision in the end.
So good. I know, and we just celebrated National Internship Awareness Week last week, and one of the things that we went through and said, what are the top 5 reasons for completing internships? And one of the reasons, one of the days, were like to know what you want to do and what you don't want to do. We call it career clarity. I've experienced that, and I'm sure all of you all have as well. In terms of, you're like, you know what? I don't think I want to do this no more, or
Right.
I still want to be in media, but I don't want to do that. And so it's helpful to know what arena you want to be in, but to get a sense of what role in that arena that you want to play. That's the value of an internship. Sometimes you need to go to a whole other arena. You know what I'm saying? And it's much easier to do a career pivot now at 18, at 19, at 20, even if you're ready to graduate, than forcibly walking into a career, being miserable, being unfulfilled, and saying, you know what, I'm 45. I think it's time for me to do what I wanted to do at 22. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
most underrated, I think, values of an internship program. So very well said, Cam. So the title of this session also is the art of building relationships, and I was very intentional on picking you three because you three are the some of the best I've ever seen in terms of building relationships with everybody, and but also being genuine and kind and thoughtful and impactful every step of the way. So, for the students out there, how would you describe why building relationships is such a critical skill at this early career stage? And you all hit on it in terms of doing the internships, but why is it so vital now, but also not only now, but throughout their career journey? Cam, I'll start with you.
Yeah, that relationship piece is definitely the centerpiece of your career. And it is, we can't express enough how important that relationship aspect is within your career. Important for various reasons, and I would just say a couple because I know my colleagues here, they're gonna get in there and say a lot of great things too. But one thing that it does, it can build something that's long lasting, that it's even hard to describe how many random occurrences I've had with people throughout my career, with relationships I started from there in the beginning. And you never know how you're going to connect with these people again in life. And so it's always just so critical that you also that you put your best effort in it, that you really take it seriously, that you give as much as you take in a relationship. And because they are just definitely so vital in helping advance your career, helping you determine areas that you want to go in. And honestly, it just makes the job fun. Like nobody just wants to go to work and that's all you do. It's just like work and that's it. But when you have those relationships in a career, and especially establishing that early on, that's gonna just give you so much more confidence in the company in general, and just so much more confidence in the work that you do, and just put you on a better path of success.
So good. So good. The centerpiece. I love how you framed that, and trust. We probably all have experienced this. Like, there are fellow interns that now are like running companies. Like, you just never know. And then there's some people who, treated you wrong back in the day. And then they all of a sudden popped in on your LinkedIn like, hey, can you help my brother get a job? I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Has your character picked up? But we'll get into that later. Zuri, what would you say? Why building relationships is such a vital skill early in this career stage, during the internship phase, but also throughout the career journey?
Definitely. I would say mainly because it'll the relationships that you build, create, cultivate will help you get into places and spaces that you not having those relationships, it won't get you into those places and spaces. So I would say that's the main thing. In addition to that, an example. I love to give examples because to make the case in point and make it relevant for people. An example of that is a conference that I applied to going. I didn't get accepted to go, but a mentor of mine actually has a ticket, is going, is on the fence about whether or not really he'll attend or not, and he isn't giving me his ticket, but he's creating another ticket with the relationship that he has for me to go to the conference that I didn't get accepted to go into. So I think that's a specific example that actually happened recently within the last 24 hours that it's important to build relationships. And another point that I'll make is on being genuine and authentic. When I reached out to him and built a relationship, I didn't immediately ask for mentorship. Over time, it became that, and we named it, claimed it, and formalized it. And in the beginning, I wasn't strategically thinking that, oh, I want to go to this conference and I know that he's in a capacity that he probably is going. So let me build this strategic alliance so that I can go to this conference, what have you. So I said that to say, connect with those who are in those places and spaces that you want to be in, yes, but also make sure it's authentic and genuine, and that you all really have something in common with each other, because I think that's also important. If you're connecting with people who you have nothing in common with, no matter what it is, it may not be as effective of a relationship compared to someone you have shared experiences, shared characteristics, or common interests.
So rich, bro, and I think you hit on some really key things, especially that last piece in terms of authenticity and like any relate. Like, come on, y'all know a true relationship, a good relationship when you know one, and any good relationship takes time. Like, if you just meet somebody for the first time and they ask you for like $500, you know, I don't know, unless I see a clear need, right? And there's desperate need, that's a different story. But like, why would I give you access to certain elements of my own relationship network or anything else? Like, it's an investment. And I would, in terms of on my perspective, give, and then ask. You know what I'm saying? And just love people well, serve people well, add value. And then all of a sudden, trust. They will come to you like, what do you need? How can I help you? And so you don't want to be, like you said, be scheming and aiming like, okay, for year 5, I'm going to try to get that CEO position because we met at the Starbucks. And no. Let's not, calm down. Just be authentic and genuine. So really well said, Zuri, as always. Jill, how would you close us out with this question? Why is it such a critical thing here in this internship phase, but also throughout the journey?
Oh my goodness, I've been chomping at the bit to answer this one. It's just so important. And Mitchell, I really love the way you framed it, right? Because getting the job, landing the experience that you're looking for, it doesn't just end there. Relationships will help you throughout your career. And, it's whether, Cam and I have both had experience at career fairs, right? Whether we were going to the counter and to making relationships for ourselves to get jobs, or whether we've been behind the counter and helping others connect and really just achieve their dreams. But so that leads, the relationships are what is going to lead to opportunity for you. And then once you're growing your career, we get our work done through relationships, right? There are many times where we are not just responsible for one thing and we don't connect with other people. It's all about collaboration. So to really foster, put the time, the work, the effort into growing these relationships, nurturing them, realizing that to Cam's point earlier, it's two-way. It's not just, well, I'm going to take, I'm only going to hit this person up when I need something. It's also about, what are you providing in this relationship to make it two-way, to make it worth the effort. And the more you can provide whatever it is and make an impact there, like the stronger this relationship is going to grow. And You don't know. Maybe you'll be leading somebody one day that you didn't have a great relationship with, and they're not going to want to do the work for you, or vice versa. Maybe now, oh, this person was on my, whatever the situation is, you don't know how it's going to come back around. So making the effort, keeping that professionalism, and really just nurturing these, and understanding it's two ways clutch. And you said it yourself, it's critical. Like, this is not a nice to have, this is critical to your career, performing your role, and advancing in the future.
I think you said a key word there, Jill, and it was nurture. And it's something that I have to remind myself of. I love people. You all are great people. Uh, people. Um, it you want to establish a relationship, but then it takes intentionality to nurture that thing every year. And so for me, a couple of tips that I do, because I'm genuinely like this, I love celebrating birthdays. I love celebrating people getting jobs. I love celebrating wins. And so if I hear of something, if I see something, I will hit you up and like, hey, just checking in. I saw that you celebrated, 10 years at this company. Congratulations. I know the work you've been putting in. Much love. And leave it at that. If the only time I hear from you is if you want like a favor, trust me, it's not good. It's not good. And so just it's a relationship. And so whether it's a family, friend, it's the same way in the corporate landscape. Be genuine, reach out, celebrate people, help people. Like if I know somebody just got laid off and I've gone through this, I'll reach out proactively. Hey, I saw, unfortunately, how can I help? Or sometimes I don't even ask for like, hey, I got this, and this. I'm gonna send this to you. Let me know if you're interested. You know what I'm saying? And so those are the things that helps you sustain relationships, healthy relationships, career wise, and trust. It will pay dividends. But you don't do it for that reason. You do it just to care for people. So now, we gave some great practical tips early in this last question, but let's dig a little bit deeper. What are some practical tips for successful relationship building? What are some of the things that you all personally do or have seen done that you like, what, that really works? Zuri, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so what I do is, so I have a tricks, and that's what we call it at Google. It's a spreadsheet, Google Sheets spreadsheet, and it's my professional development plan. And a tab within that tricks is relationship building, or I forgot what I think I call it, relationship rapport and relationship report, something. I don't know the name of it, I'm forgetting. But yeah, in that I have two columns: internal relationships and two external relationships of people I want to build relationships with. And then I have the names of those people, internal meaning at Google, external meaning other companies outside of Google. And I have it to where I have a color coded radar on it's, I think it's weak, or it's non-existent, which is red, yellow, which is weak, green, which is strong. And out of everyone that I have in that that tab of that spreadsheet, I indicate those three color codes. And what I'll do, I'll look ad hoc, whether it's weekly, monthly, whenever, and see, okay, for those in red who I want to have relationships with, but I don't, let me reach out to them. For those who I have relationships with, but haven't really talked to them in a long time, meaning, in other words, that they're color coded yellow. Okay, let me send a note and ask how they're doing. Maybe update them on some things that I may be doing, or see how I could help them if time permits. And then green, no action needed from me. I have a relationship. I've talked to this person maybe in the last half of the year, what have you, depending on whether it's internal, external. And yeah, so practically, technically, I think what you all could do is it could be a tricks, or it could be simply a document, but write down the people that you want to connect with and check it frequently to make sure that you're actively engaging with those on that list.
So good. And I think and it's proactive, y'all. It's intentional. And the more successful you get in your career, the harder this is going to be. So if you have a plan and if you be strategic in terms of this is my nurture plan. This is my building relationship plan report. That's how you do it. So tremendous job there, Jill. What are some practical tips that you have that you use or you've seen others use as well?
Well, we're watching the value of networking take place because, sorry, I love that idea and I want red, yellow,
Yes.
green contacts now. So it's important because this helps you learn, right? I love it. And I think, because we've called out that building relationships is so critical. Think about it. What do we make time for in our lives? It's time for the important things. This is an important thing. So, step one has to be making the time for it and being intentional about it. What are you doing to challenge yourself to keep up with your network? And are you being smart about how you are nurturing and how you're following up? And that's where, in my career, I've seen a lot of folks trip up is just like not reaching out at the right times, right? It should never really be about, I'm going to write individual X every month and be like, what opportunities do you have for me? What's out there? How can I get in this company? Blah, 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 whatever it may be. It's reaching out when you have something to say or when you have an important question to ask. So being intentional in your communication is clutch and not wasting those opportunities. I see it even on LinkedIn. So many people will want to connect. And it's like, please add me to your network. And I'm over here thinking, well, why? Tell me why. Why? Because this could be a beautiful relationship, but you're not giving me anything. So even something as simple as that initial communication, where is the value you're adding? Remember to be able to communicate that. So it's just so important. And I always think of this when I'm personally approaching networking and building relationships is this isn't about collecting contacts, right? It's about building relationships and growing them. So it's not about, oh, I have 500 people in my contacts. Well, what are you doing with them? And is there value in any of those relationships? Likely not. It's really taking the time to think of, okay, I want somebody. So for me, like who am I looking to have as a mentor? Who do I think could be great to help sponsor me? There are other areas of the company that I want to learn about. There are other jobs outside of this company I want to learn about. I approach it from that learning aspect, and also how can I help make an impact and maybe make life easier for someone else? How can I help strengthen their program, their product? So being able to reach out and then provide that is just so important, and really it speaks volumes as to who you are and what you're bringing to the table. People respect that, they appreciate it, and that's where that relationship begins to grow.
Oh my goodness. So many gems there, Jill. Wow. And something that I do want to give the students is something that I've used and I still use it. I used it after I got the job, and that's informational interviews. And so you talked about having a heart for learning, and you never want to stop learning. I don't care how high you get. There's always something that you can learn. But as an intern, Zuri did this, and I did this as well. Like, why those 8 to 12 weeks that you got, have a plan and say, okay, I want to meet with this person, even if it's not in your department. Learn the company, understand the language, and build relationships and learn the career journeys. And so leverage the power of information or interviews at every touch point. Wow. We got like 2 minutes left, y'all. This is crazy. Y'all been too, I blame y'all. Y'all been too good in terms of serving up this.
How bad?
So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go and we'll start with you, Cam. A final tip, piece of advice. Is there something you want to elaborate on to leave with our crew here who are going to go out and do their internships this spring and summer? What final piece of Cam wisdom that you want to serve up?
And I'll just piggyback off what we was talking about as a piece of advice. Don't be robotic in your approach. Just approach people on a human level. And I just have just a real quick specific example of that. How I have my current job now was just someone I met in the company at IBM 7 years ago. And it was just randomly on a human level and just staying in contact, talking about families, talking about this, is just being in contact over the years. And when the opportunity arose, I wasn't even looking for it, but he reached out to me. It's like we have this opportunity, and I happen to just have finished my current contract at that time and was looking for something, so it just aligned. So if you just approach people on a human level, it goes a long way.
So good. Zuri, final piece of wisdom that you would like to share.
Yeah, what I would share in respect to the question is for relationships, when you are thinking about reaching out and connecting, building, and as Jill said, I believe nurturing the relationships, make sure you give before you take. And give before you take, but also give more than you receive, especially if someone is where you want to be and you're really reaching out to them because of that or because of other reasons. Really try as much as you can to give more than you take. And specifically how you can do so is asking them how could you add value, being intentional about saying that this is would be a mutually beneficial relationship if they want to engage in the relationships. And then also the last thing I'll say is for the relationships in spirit of making sure that you're authentic with them, ensure that you are building a relationship with the person and not solely the professional. Because to Cameron's point, on a human level, we want to connect with people who care about us, not only care about what we can do for inter person. So
Great.
that would be my advice.
So good. Jill, take us home.
So much to say in so little time. I think again we said make the time for it, and I would add just don't be afraid to go for it either. Don't let these invisible barriers keep you from reaching out, like, oh, they're very busy, oh well, we're working remotely, so it's weird to do it over Zoom. Like, no, just go for it. Put yourself out there, make that connection and grow it, because you never know what can happen from it. And a quick example, just over 10 years ago, I found out there was a new department being formulated at ESPN called the Content Associate Program, and they were hiring for a director level role. And I was like, well, there's no way I'm going to become a director, but I'm going to apply and I'm going to reach out to the VP and just put my name out there and say, look, I know it's not likely for me to get the director role, but if you expand this team, I am so interested and fascinated in the work that's being done here. Here's everything I've done that I think that would make me a great fit for this role. So I just wanted to put that out there, get that in your head, and just know that even if you don't have a role, I'm happy to help with this department regardless. And had I not done that, I wouldn't know any of you today. I have the opportunity of working with so many amazing people, such as yourselves. And that really has just catapulted my career even into my current role. So just again, don't be afraid. Go for it.
Wow. Couldn't have closed us better. And what we've intentionally done this. So we titled this The Art of Building Relationships, but in most circles they call it networking. And the word networking has this itchy kind of like, I don't want to do it. It's really building relationships. So anytime you see the word networking, just say building relationships. That's what it is. And keep it
Love it.
human, keep it authentic, be proactive, nurture, serve, and watch what happens. So thank you, Jill. Thank you, Cam. Thank you, Zuri, for investing your
Thank
time
you.
and blessing us with your wisdom. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mitchell.
All right, students, y'all know what to do. Take them notes, be proactive, and we want to hear how you guys do. So hit us up and just kill it on your internships. Stay tuned for the next session. Take care. What's going on, everybody? Mitchell back here. Hope you guys have been enjoying the 2022 Internship Success Summit. And yo, it's been real. And buckle up because we back at it again. We got one of my favorite people in the world. She's actually the first ever repeat guest, back to back summits. She was here last year, she's back this year. And because she just has a wealth of wisdom, she has the heart of kind of why we do what we do. She lives it out and she impacts a lot of people and really cares about all of you all. So rather than me just keep going on about how great she is, Marie, say what's up to the family.
What's up, y'all? Oh my God, I had no idea I'm a repeat. That's like wild to me. Wow. And I can't believe it's already been a whole year since the last one, right? Like, time is weird, but oh my God, it's so good to be back. So good to see you again. And yeah, glad to see everybody. And hopefully it's been a great, great journey. I know, Mitchell, you have the heart for this. And so thank you for all your hard work and your team as well. So it's great to be back and supporting.
No problem. So, Marie, tell folks, introduce kind of what you're doing now, what led you to what you're doing now, and then kind of any favorite career highlights, moments, memories, or whatnot.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. So currently, I am a recruiter at Netflix. I am recruiting for their new game development studio. So if you didn't know that Netflix has games, they do now. Really been a great time. Yesterday was actually my 1 year anniversary, which has been a wild ride, knowing that it's been a year there. But it's been super fun. Yeah, being able to build a whole new division within Netflix and doing it in video games. But prior to Netflix, I was at Ubisoft. So I was in gaming before. I was still a recruiter there. And then prior to Ubisoft, I was at Lucasfilm and the Walt Disney Company. And so, that was a great time. And then prior to that, going all the way back into my career, I started at Dolby Laboratories. And so my whole career has been in recruiting. I've always been a recruiter. I've always been kind of in this entertainment adjacent type roles, which is great. And it's been super fun and I'm really proud of it. And it has always been where I wanted to be. I knew like I wanted to work in entertainment, when I started early in my career. And so I'm glad to be here today. And in terms of career highlights, I mean, I would say one of the funnest places to work other than Netflix was definitely Lucasfilm and the Disney company, right? I'm a huge Star Wars fan, a huge Disney head. And so that was really fun to work there. In terms of like projects and memorable, like career highlights, I would probably say two things at Ubisoft. So prior to my role right now at Ubisoft, one, I created an internal podcast for our women's ERG. And apparently, even though I'm gone, like they're still doing it. And so like, I love that there's this lasting impact and value that the women's ERG, has that resource, through that podcast and through that medium, for that community. So I think that's just so cool that even though I'm gone, like they're still working on it and they're still providing that. So that just seems really cool. And then also at Ubisoft, I created, implemented, executed on like the first like official internship program. And apparently that's still going on too, right? So they kind of took the foundation of what I did and they're making it robust and they still continue it on today. And so, yeah, I saw that they had like a cohort this summer. And so that's just super cool. Like, I love knowing that I started something, like there was a fire in me and I started and I lit it, but now it's like, a blaze over there, even though I'm no longer part of the company. So I think like that's really like my favorite highlights, that it's gone beyond me. So yeah.
Good. And that's that's an early lesson. And this is something that we talk about all the time. Students, you all know if you've been to our events or virtual or in person, how to be an intern of impact, how to be a pro of impact. Like that's the goal. We want each and every one of you all to get in the habit of being very proactive and intentional on how can I add value to this place, and don't think it has to be some ginormous big thing that brings in the company millions of dollars. No, it could be a process. It could be helping a current element of that company becoming better. And so Marie just listed two things that is really, really dope. And like I said, her impact is still living on after she's left, and so that is the goal. So now you just went off just a phenomenal journey. It's been a joy to watch your journey here. Uh, if you could describe your career in one word, what would it be and why?
Oh my goodness. One word. Ooh, that's hard. This has to be the
More,
hardest question
it's all
here.
good. It's all good.
I would say like determination. Yeah. And I picked that word because that's who I was throughout my career, or who I still am in my career, right? Like my determination, my push to do well, my push to be successful, like that is always there and has never left me. So I feel like, yeah, if there's one word that like really is like the word that like describes like who I was and how I got to where I am and like where I land today and what I continue to lean on in my foundation, is my determination. Like I do not want to fail. Like I do not want to let myself down, right? Like there's no one else on this planet that's going to advocate for me except for me. So I feel like, just being determined and being an advocate for myself and doing what I want to do and pushing for it and asking for what I want, even though I could be hit with a no, like I'm still determined, like I'm going to get a yes out there. Right. So determination.
I love it. I love it. And one thing that I know personally that you're very determined about is, again, about having a heart for the next generation. I mean, you explained how like kind of laid the groundwork for an internship program. That's a big deal. And you've done countless other things at San Jose State, right?
Yes. Yes.
You've done a lot, and because you really care. Now, I guess, why do you care so much about mentoring the next generation? Why does that mean so much to you? I guess.
Yeah. Because I think it's really because I didn't have my own like mentoring when I was growing up, right? Like I come from a generation and also a culture that it's very much like, you go in, you do your work, you keep your head down, and you just hope and pray for the best, right? Like you don't ask for more. You just get what's on your plate. You make the most of what's in front of you, and you don't go less or more, right? Like you step on the gas more than you need to. You don't need a break any more than you need to. Like you keep it steady and that's it. Um, and that's how I grew up. And that's what I kind of like knew for a very long time. But it wasn't until, like I entered into my career. It wasn't until I entered into, my collegiate, life where I was like, wow, there's so much more out there, right? Like I was part of organizations and meeting with professionals and meeting with different people and like just, networking and interacting. And my bubble, what I knew, just kept expanding. And I was like, wow, like if I didn't do this, if I didn't meet that person or go to that school or join this organization, I probably would always have lived my life, how I grew up. Like again, put your head down, focus on what you need to do. You don't ask for anything. You work with what's given to you and you just hope that everything goes well. Right. But it wasn't until like my worldly view really got expanded, that it made me feel like, wow, like how many other people are out there like me who just maybe just never had their own worlds expanded because they just never met that person or never had that conversation. And so for me, I think that's why it's so important, mentoring the next generation, is because you just don't know what you don't know. And when you don't know what you don't know, like sometimes you just stay in that place, right? And so like for me, I've always made it a thing of like, I want to help. Like I just want people to know like, hey, you're bigger than this, right? You're bigger than what you know today. There's so much more to see and do in the world. And I hope that, people are encouraged to explore that, right? Because I feel like it's just too sad to like stay super narrow,
Uh,
right? So really that mentoring and that care is just like, go out there, see what else is out there. And it's not just from a career perspective either, like it's your own growth, right? Like again, like I will tell you, when I grew up, like I was so shy. I could never do this. Getting in front of a camera would be like death to me. I'm like, no, 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 don't ever put me in front of a camera. Now I do this stuff and it's like I wouldn't have known that this was even my strength, right? If like I didn't know like what kind of opportunities there were for me to talk, to share my story, to have a platform to do this, right? And so like even that has opened up my world. And so that's why like I just want to optimize everybody else, right? Like you all have a gift, you all have something that you can do in this world. And so like you just need to like open up that space. And I hope to be a catalyst for someone that like, hey, I saw Marie or like I heard her story and I just feel inspired. So I'm going to take that next step, whatever that may be.
Oh my goodness. Well, I can tell you, and many others can tell you that you are doing that, you're living that out, and you have been a tremendous blessing to a lot of people. And like I said, you have the heart of kind of why we do what we do. Part of why we have such a diverse set of mentors and partners and people who come in and invest to talk to you all out there is we want you to see what's possible. I know a large part of my story, and I've told it in the past. It took someone in high school. I'm 14, looking up somebody I looked up to in Chicago, the top sportscasters out there, and mentored me for a day, and it showed me what was possible. He's the one that told me what an internship was, and I did not know that moment would lead to me doing what I'm doing now. So thank you, Marie, for just continuing to be determined to do that, because you're living that out now. This is the Internship Success Summit, so we gotta dig into that. Now, how would you describe the power of an internship?
Yeah. I mean, you kind of started off with like, knowing what's possible. I think an internship, again, like you have to see it holistically, right? Like some people kind of think of it very narrow, like an internship is just a job in a field that I want to be in and make the career for the rest of my life, right? Like sometimes that could be like the linear path.
Mhm.
But the power of an internship is that plus more. Like you may discover, hey, I really like this. This is what I want to do. I'm going to make a career of that. It can also lead you down, hey, I really like this internship and I learned from another individual on my team and they're doing something else that's adjacent to what I'm doing in my internship. And now I'm interested in that. Or you go down another route and say, I hate this internship. I don't want to do this job. But you know what? If I didn't take it, I wouldn't have known I didn't like it. Right. And I think like there is power in all of those, right? Like there is power in knowing what you like, pivoting what you like, and discovering what you don't like, right? And all of that too, at the end of the day, again, zoom out. What does that mean for you as a person, right? Like I think internships, you need to go out and like zoom out just beyond you as like an employee or a worker, but who you are as a person in general, right? Like internships can tell you, you know what? I really value a place that collaborates, has work-life balance, and cares about me as a person of color. I don't know, right? Like that could be one thing. And yeah, like you learn about those things, right? Like you start learning what's important. And so an internship, yeah, it's a job. Yes, it is career changing. Yes, but also look at yourself in the mirror and see like what that internship does to you as well as a person. Again, from your values, what's important, what you like and don't like, who you want to work for, right? Like what kind of manager do I want to work under? What kind of projects do I want to do? What kind of company do I want to work for that has, XYZ values, because that's important to me, right? So like the internship, like, it's really like a discoverability. Like that's like the biggest thing you probably will get is like you have a sandbox that like you can actually play in and realize, you know what? I like this corner of the sandbox more than that over there. But now this is where I start building that castle. So
So good, and I mean, you really hit it on the head. I like I said, I've seen it in hundreds and hundreds of students. I lived this out doing 7 internships back in the day, and it was very valuable. And I think, I mean, heck, that's wisdom for people 20 years in the game who are, I guess, the pandemic. If you really want to go in on it, really brought that to light. That's why you saw a lot of people pivot and like they're like, you know what, this is not aligning with my values, and this is not aligning with the trajectory and where I want to go on. And so
Right.
don't think you have to know everything at once. That's part of the opportunity that you guys have as students to go into an internship and approach it and learn about yourself, learn what you like and don't like. And like I said, that was brilliant. Now, right about now, it's the heart of recruiting season for internships.
Yes.
I'm out there talking to tons of interns across potential interns across the country, from freshmen to seniors to grad students. It's hyper competitive, and interview I guess invitations will be coming out probably later in the fall. So you are one of the best that I know in terms of really giving some great insight on how to handle the interview experience. So I guess what tips do you
Mhm.
have for those students who are able to tips for landing an interview, and then also once they land an interview, tips on how to make the most of it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, I mean, landing the interview will come from like your resume, right? Your resume or your portfolio, right? Like that's the first step. So, really optimizing your resume to the job description that you are applying into, right? So, really taking a deep dive. What is the job description looking for, right? Like, what are those skill sets, responsibilities, requirements that they're looking for? And then looking at yourself, right? Looking at yourself in the mirror and say like, well, where do I have that experience, right? So if the job description says something about, you know, you're going to be working with cross-functional teams, and you're going to be working with and collaborating with like other team members, where have you collaborated, right? Like as a student, you're like, well, I've collaborated on projects in my class with 5 other students, right? So like highlighting, what that project is, what were your responsibilities, what were your deliverables, right? So I think it's really optimizing your resume to what the job description is looking for, right? And I will caveat, I know there could be a lot of other advice out there, and maybe someone might say like, to fill your resume with all these like buzzwords, but I will say like it's not about the buzzwords, it's really about the experience. So again, like how do you make it one to one? Again, if the job description says you have to be a collaborator, put where you've collaborated on your resume, right? Like highlight that you worked with the team and that you led this project and that you had deliverables and were able to deliver on it, within a certain time frame, things like that. So, anchoring to the job description is really the best way to like land yourself that interview, because it shows that you looked at the job description, you prepared your resume for that job description. And again, like you're highlighting the most relevant experience. And like that's going to be the most important part. Once you've land the interview, same thing is like, again, think about relevancy, right? Like think about all of those different experiences that you've had, like write examples about those experiences, because they're going to just be reiterated in an interview, right? So you might have the interviewer say, okay, well, tell me about a time where you collaborated with a team, right? Well, you already wrote it down in your resume that you worked on a project at school. Now you just have to talk about it, right? But you have to give actual examples. And I will say, like, I've been in recruiting my entire career. That's a big piece of feedback I get from almost every hiring manager, is that like I really want the candidate to be specific. I need them to give me an example. So if you get the collaboration question, you can't just answer, "Oh, well, I collaborated on project with Mitchell at school," and leave it at that. No, it should be, well, me and Mitchell, we did this. This is how we planned the project. This is how we executed it. This is how we got the deliverable. Here's what we did after the project. Here's who we presented it to. X, Y, and Z, right? Like you got to get into the details. So when you're talking in your interviews, I will say like the number one rule is like make sure you come with examples. Really make sure that you have the details to examples. And again, like how those examples show how you would use those skill sets in the job, right? So if I'm a collaborator at my school in this class on this project, I also want to show like I'm not just doing this in school, but this is how it translates if I get the job.
Oh,
Right. So
I hope. Listen, I've been telling y'all throughout the summit to take notes. Please take notes. Take a lot of notes and implement this wisdom. This is tremendous insight. Now, I do want to add on to what you said. So, a lot of students I'll be at a university, and they're like, "Well, I don't have any experience." I'm like, "Are you part of a club?" They're like, "Yeah, I do Student Government Association. I'm in SHRM, and part of the Volunteer for Athletic Association." Like, I'm like, "You have experience. Did you lead a project? Are you in a fraternity or sorority? Have you?" And they're like, "Yes, yeah." I'm like, "That counts." Don't
that
think that you
counts.
have to do it in a corporate arena for them to count as experience, because they know you're a student. They know you're not working at some Fortune 500 on the weekends and getting great experience. They're not looking to have CEO experience to get an internship. Like, they know where you're at, and so, and this is a pro tip for a student. This is something that I tried to do as you're on campus. Like, keep a journal and keep track of everything that you do, because though, like, these are real jobs. Like, these are real internship. You're getting, hopefully you're getting paid to work and do real work for a real company. Like,
Right.
this is a monopoly. So, like, keep track of what you're doing, even why you're doing it, and take notes, because these are the things that when you start to land those interviews, you can just pull out that journal and say, "I got exhibit A, exhibit B. I've done this, that, and the other." And you can do what Marie just told you to do, and not have to try to remember all that you did and why and who you worked with and the timeline, and even take note of what the impact that you made in terms of the numbers, the data, the feedback that you got from a particular project, be it in class or for a student group. Like, that all counts, y'all. So this is,
Yeah.
please take note of that. Now,
For sure. I definitely want to add to that too. Like when you're looking at this like information, like all the things that you worked on, also highlight where your strengths are, right? Because you're gonna add what are your strengths, right? So like if after you listed down every project you've done, you can say, you know what, my strengths is that I'm a collaborator, I'm really good with data, and I really am good with written communication, right? Like like you should really also reflect on those things, right? Like reflect on what you've done, and because you'll be amazed like what you capture after, like, wow, I did really good on this because I'm just really good at putting presentations together. I'm really good at writing this essay, which means I'm a good written and verbal communicator, right? Like those things translate, and those are skill sets that will always translate in a job. You're always going to need those too, right? So like don't underestimate like what you pick up on and what your strengths are like in those classes. I do, and I actually have a word for this notebook that you're talking about, Mitchell. I call it personally a brag book. So if anyone wants to take it, make yourself a brag book. Get it, yeah, notebook, online, Google Doc, whatever. Like brag book at the title, list all of your accomplishments, capture what you're good at, capture your strengths, capture your weaknesses, right? Like maybe you even might find like, oh, I really wasn't great at that verbal presentation. Like I'm not really strong at being, a presenter. Not a bad thing. Now like I need to work on that, right? Like that's something I could work on. So that's my add on that point.
yeah, and then to further that, and this is why I just have so much fun with you. So this is why. So let's say that's your weakness, right? And then you say, "You know what, I got to do something about this. I'm going to join Toastmasters organization, or I'm going to take an online course to improve." And take note of that too, because let
Yep.
me tell you, if you brought that into a hiring organization for an internship, or even for any job, let alone any job, and you say, "This is my weak," they're going to ask you, "What's your weakness?" And if you say that, and you say, "This is what I did to improve it. I'm not where I want to be, but look, I have shown they were like, "Wow, like okay, I could take that." You know what I'm saying? They're not expecting you to be perfect. So brilliant, brilliant stuff there. Now, let's say they were wise. One of the students, hopefully all of y'all are wise enough to take this wisdom, implement it with excellence. They land the internship. what are some of your keys to fully optimizing, fully making the most of those 8 to 12 weeks, or sometimes even longer?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said earlier, when it came to like what the power of the
Yeah.
internship is, right? Like it's not just the job, right? Like obviously you do have deliverables, you will have things you need to do, you will have tasks, obviously do that, but also ask yourself where are areas that you can go above and beyond, right? Like, is it just like, hey, Mitchell, go do X, Y, and Z? Do you do X, Y, and Z? Or do you say, hey, I did X, Y, and Z, but I also added in a couple A, B's, and C's because I feel like this might optimize that task or improve that process, etc. Right? Like, I think like going above and beyond what you're set to do and like thinking beyond like, just your desk and what you're working on, like definitely says a lot. And then again, like, you're also learning about yourself, right? So like keep track of like, yeah, like who am I working with? What do I like here? Right? Like, do I like working on this team? Do I like the projects that I'm on? If I don't like the project, what's missing? Like what would get me excited? What would, what could I be working on that like really truly would get me up in the morning? Right. So like you should also like, just keep gut checking yourself as well. I can't stress enough like asking questions, right? Like ask questions. Everyone knows like when it comes to an internship, everyone knows that the intern is going to be curious, right? So leverage that. Be curious. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Another way to optimize is network within your company, right? Like not just who is on your team, but if you're inside the company, you have a plethora of information that's free to you and you can tap into people and resources, all while you're there. So set up coffee chats, like set up time with folks, learn about them, even if they're not even your department, right? You might be in marketing, but it's like, hey, this person's in finance. What do you do in finance? Like, how does that impact the business? Like, right? Like blending the curiosity with like, again, like you have like such a resource in front of you. And then I would say like the last thing is keeping in touch. I think this is so huge, is that you're going to think like, okay, I just have a start and end to my internship. I challenge you, don't make an end date for yourself. Yes, the job will end, but keep in touch with that manager. Keep in touch with your team. Keep in touch with the person in finance you had a coffee chat with. Like, keep in touch with these folks because that's your network now, right? Like, those are people who know you. And like the internship experience, like, really doesn't have to end because like you want to continuously build that relationship for you in your career. Like I will tell you, I'm still connected to my manager from my internship 10 years ago. We talk, we still text, like all of the things, right? Like she even sends me invites to her daughter's birthday party. I send her invites to mine. Like, I mean, like that just really is like the, I feel like is the best case scenario when it comes to like networking. Like she just turned out to be a good friend of mine. But that was because after the internship ended, like I just kept in touch with her. Every place I went, I continue to tell her, hey, after this internship, I went to Dolby. Hey, after Dolby, I went to Lucasfilm. Hey, I'm at Netflix now. Right. And me and her just like chat about like, our journeys together. She's no longer at that company I interned at, but now she's somewhere else. Right. And so we just keep in touch. And so I would say like think about like maximizing that opportunity or that internship, not just while you're there, but like beyond and outside of it.
Oh my goodness. Absolute gold. And, we had a whole session, as you guys know, about the art of building relationships. And we're all in people business. I don't care if you're in tech, I don't care if you're in media, I don't care, whatever you're dealing with people. Even if you're dealing with robots all day, those robots usually they're working with people, they're serving people of some sort. So like knowing how to cultivate and nurture relationships at every touch point, even your fellow interns, like don't neglect building those rich relationships because you guys are on a career journey together. And so keep in touch. And it doesn't take much. Just it could be, I know, here's another really good tip. One of my good friends who's one of the higher ups at Twitter, what she did after her internship and kind of every step of the way, very similar to you, she, had a kind of a spreadsheet, and she kind of kept in touch with folks. But then she actually created like this, I forgot what she called it. It was some type of a blog or some sort. And it was like Adina's update or whatever. And it was like a once a year deal. And she was just put the highlights of kind of what she's did, what she's learning, and she kept like a kind of like a group, and she would just email them. That's how she did it, and so it was a really simple way, and she is very, trust me, very, very good at those building relational equity and creating really genuine friendships. So, oh my goodness, it is like
That's so cool.
long,
I love that.
yeah. So like I know I've taken so much of your time. We have to close it out. I could talk to you for like 2 hours, but I've got to get one final piece of wisdom. Is there anything that we haven't touched? Is there anything on your heart to share with the students out there, whether it's encouragement, whether it's elaborating on something you've already shared? What final, I guess, Marie quote would you like to give them, or whatever you like
I
to
love
do?
it. I love that. Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I really, for one, like, I hope that this is like a continued resource, right? Like, this resource is here for a reason. Like, what Mitchell has put together in his team and, with Internship Pros, like, is gold. Like, that's where the gold is. And so, like, one, I hope that this is something that gets leveraged, in your journey. And yeah, like I hope that that's something that you just take advantage of, right? Like, there's people out there like Mitchell, like myself, who just want to see you succeed. Like, we want you to do well. And so, like, hopefully, there you continue to find these types of resources helpful, like, along the way. A couple last minute tips. I mean, it's going to be hard, right? Like, you're going to see yourself in times where you're like, man, this really sucks, right? You might face rejection, you might not get an answer, you are going to be navigating this. And it's going to be crazy, right? Like, you're going to have times where you're going to be confused and you just don't know. But just know that's part of the journey. And it's all about like how you get up, right? How you get up and you keep going and you keep pushing for your goal. Like, I hope that the way I describe my career in one word is determination. Like, I pass that on to all of you, that you have the determination, that you don't ever want to not see yourself succeed, right? Like, I hope that's always going to be that fire in you, that it's like, no, I'm not going to take no for an answer. Like, I really want to keep going. And also say, have fun, right? Like, there's too much in the world to that's already keeping us down, whatever that may be, outside and inside of work, in school, whatever. But have fun, enjoy the journey. And then probably the last thing I would say is, yeah, I mean, sometimes I really don't think it is about the journey or the destination. I think it's about the people that you keep. So I really do hope that you find community in all that you do, whether you land that internship or that job or whatever it is. Like, I hope you find, a group that supports you. You find your tribe, right? Because like, there is, throughout your entire career, titles, jobs, companies, all of that can grow and go away, right? But like, the company you keep, that's where you're always going to fall onto. So build your network, build your folks, build your tribe, find community and enjoy.
Wow. Well, what a perfect way to end. Marie, thank you so much. You have been a ginormous blessing. Y'all listen, y'all better implement this and let me know, let us know what you do, how you do. We want to hear stories of how you landed these internships, how you did in the interview, what tips did you implement. I know Marie would love to hear. So please, please, please go out, kill it, do everything that she said, times 100x. And we will see you in the next session. Take care. All right. So I am Mitchell Leach the second. I am back, and thank you for attending the first session. And we have a special guest joining us. And I wanted to, rather than me introduce her, and because I'll get all hyped up and I'll talk about how great she is for 20 minutes. I'll have her introduce herself, and we'll go from there. And she has a lot of great wisdom to share. Gary.
Thank you so much, Mitchell. Hello, everyone. My name is Yared Oliveros. I am the Senior Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Business Partner for a little company called Tesla. And I also help lead the Global Latinos at Tesla Employee Resource Group. So I'm really excited to be here and have some really good, genuine conversation about relationship building. So I'm really excited about this topic.
Yes, yes, yes. And somebody who's seen the impact that you've made, you definitely have a heart for all of the students out there. So tell us a little bit about that. Why are you so passionate and so intentional with being a great mentor and a great blessing to the next generation?
I really thought about this question, and I've been really blessed to have some amazing mentors in my life. It wasn't always that the case when I was getting my bachelor's degree. I was a commuter student just trying to make ends meet. So, going to college, 18 credits. I had a part time job as a waitress. I was doing unpaid internships at that time. And I just had no guidance whatsoever, right? I was just trying to get through it. Until then, I was able to get into more of like the hotel industry where kind of things kind of kicked off a little bit for me and doing some work there. And I decided to get my master's when I was working at the hotel industry at that time. And during my master's program, I met an amazing God fearing woman who is just so fantastic. And you will hear my dog in the background, so I apologize, folks.
It's all good.
But her name is Joyce Foster. She worked for an amazing company at that time. She's retired now. And she has really been such an anchor for me until this day. And she has probably been my mentor since my tender age of my 20s, and who has really helped guide me, gave me some real raw, tough conversations along the way. But I've also had different mentors also along the way in my career, that have also helped guide me to be where I am. So I think it's important to have mentors. And sometimes it could be done in a formal way, right? Where there's some companies that have kind of formal mentorship programs. And sometimes it could be just very informal, which most of the time have happened for me, where I've actually reached out and said, do you mind if I just tap into you and have you be my mentor? And most of the time, it's always been a resounding yes. So I feel like I'm giving back to the community, to the future generation, to current generations, to say, like, I'm here, even if it's virtual, LinkedIn. Just being able to be a sounding board for anyone is something that is important and key for people that are just kind of trying to figure it out.
So good. And I can relate. I remember as a college student doing two unpaid internships. I'm in Chicago, my hometown, one TV, one radio internship. But, brother got to eat, brother got clothes, I still got car. And so I'm working at UPS overnight, 3 in the morning. I'm flying to my first internship. Then I'm going from one internship to the other. I leave that last internship at, close to 11:30 at night, get 3 hours of sleep, and I'm back at UPS. But I landed my job straight out of school because of going above and beyond. Now, thankfully, it's a lot better. There's a lot more paid internships, and so yes. So kudos to you. And yes, I wholeheartedly agree about mentorship. And when you find a good one, y'all, make sure you nurture that relationship and be a blessing to them as well, because it's a two-way street. So the title of this event is the Internship Success Summit. And so, we are uberly passionate about finding internships, completing internships, maximizing internships. So, how would you describe the power of completing internships? Why are they so vital?
It definitely isn't just about checking the box, right? That they've completed an internship. I think being able to have a great internship, and Mitchell, you and I will date ourselves, right? Unpaid internships, very different back then than what they are now.
Oh my gosh.
Now, internships have benefits. They got all kinds of great stuff, which is amazing. But I would probably say it's really coming in with a focus to make a difference in an internship, right? And sometimes I think that when interns come into a internship role, they want to create these big impactful projects, which we all do, right? I think, but we also have to understand that sometimes coming in and just helping set up the fundamentals of whatever it is that the team is looking for, whether it's even just basic organizing some massive Excel spreadsheet so the rest of the company can keep going, like that is impactful. So I want to just kind of make a piece known that the smallest task to the most huge task of a project, you are making an impact, and documenting all those wins, it's what's going to build your character, it's what's going to build you as an individual, and these are all transferable skills that you can continue to apply down the road, right? So just kind of think of it as like, I built an amazing, fundamental process of how to do a standard operating procedure, so I'm going to put that in my toolbox in my resume. I was able to create a plan from A to Z, and I use project planner tools and Microsoft Teams or whatever the case may be, but you're putting it in your toolbox. So don't diminish whatever task that is given to you as something that is not as important as the next person, because whatever it is that you are doing, you are called to do it for that moment, for that time. And if it means you need to be humbled at that moment and at that time, then guess what, you just do it, right? And then things will come. Things will come, things will evolve. But if you are not able to do the smallest little task, how are you going to be able to do the largest task when it comes to you? So, just having kind of that mindset, I think, is important from like an internship perspective that I can just kind of give from my experience and from also having interns that reported directly to me.
Oh my goodness, you said so much there. One thing that first popped up was being dependable. You're building trust, like any relationship. And so, story time again for me. During one of those mini internships, and this was typically the case with every internship, my fellow interns would just be there and just sit, and they'll be on the phone and waiting for their internship leader or reporting manager to tell them what to do each and every day. And so a lot of times, some managers would just let them do what they do, but like they're here for 8 weeks, if that's what they want to do, fine. Some would be a little bit more proactive. Some would just go get lunch and get copies. And I did all that stuff too, and I did it with a smile, and I would not try to mess nothing up. But then I would always ask, what can I do? Or I would come with ideas. And then once I started to show that proactive spirit to make an impact in the little things, they started to give me more things to the point to where I was literally doing producer level work by like week 4. And they started sending me to go cover games and to go do this and interview athletes while the other interns were still doing the same thing. But it was really because I'm like, look, I'm here 7, 8 weeks. I want to be impactful in the little, and whatever they give me, I'm gonna come up with ideas of how to make it better. And you said a big deal, and we've talked about this in Interns to Pros crew about tracking your impact. Track what you learn, track your impact, track, keep tabs on the people that you connect with, what you're learning, what you're frustrated with. You may learn some things that we said this in the last session, like you're gonna learn what you don't want to do. So there's a lot to gather in an internship. So what a phenomenal way to, wow, tremendous stuff there. Now let's get into relationships. The art of building relationships. You're one of the best I've ever seen, and this is why we wanted to have this as a session this year. Why is building relationships such a critical skill, not only in this early career stage, but throughout their career journey?
Yeah, and I'm kind of looking at my notes here because I don't want to miss this because I think that these are key things that need to be said, and I can go on about building relationships, but I really want to make sure that I touch on 4 points that I think it's going to definitely play a big vital role in this space. One word that comes to mind when I was thinking through these questions is genuine. Building genuine relationships, and I just got goosebumps right now.
Mm.
Um, Anybody can build relationships. You got fake relationships, you got shady relationships, you got
Yeah.
just untrustworthy relationships. But genuine relationships really just foster a true sense of trust, belonging, um, being able to just make mountains move. Like you can make things move. And I think a lot in you, obviously being kind of in a lot of knowledge in the sports and athlete kind of experience and industry, I think that building a relationship, and you see this right in sports, in the NFL, and baseball, and basketball, when teams win when there is that relationship. It may not always be a a healthy relationship sometimes because we all fight and we all kind of have our own differences, but when it comes time to play, everybody gets together to win, right? So I want to just say like genuine, because that is going to be something that is going to carry you on, and it's going to really open doors throughout your career. The other piece about what comes from building these relationships is that it helps drive and improve collaboration, right? Within your teams and other team members. And I'll give you just a very simple example. We just hosted this amazing event for Hispanic Heritage Month, and I needed the support from the janitors, from the executives to make all kinds of things happen. And this was all kind of happening this week, but I started fostering these relationships months ago. So when this kind of came up, I already knew that I had their buy-in. I knew I had their support. And you know what? And they gladly supported every little piece of the puzzle that made this event such a success that I was just baffled. Just seeing everything orchestrated, you're just like, wow, this is amazing, right? But why does that happen? Is because I didn't just foster a relationship 3 days before the event or 3 days before this project was due. I had to put some time, some months of time to really gain their trust, to really kind of understand who they are as people, to really help kind of bring all this together. So that's why I wanted to just kind of mention that. And, and then at the end of the day, it helps drive morale when there's a true, genuine care for individuals, right? And I think at the end of the day, we tend to forget that we're all human beings, that we all want to be loved, we all want to be cared for, and we all want to be appreciated and recognized. And when you're really able to share this genuine part of yourself to others, people will do anything for you. So that's why I think those are some of the key things I wanted to make sure I bring up that I didn't want to forget. So hopefully that helps.
Oh, please. That was phenomenal. And listen, interns the pros crew, y'all know y'all be taking them notes so that you can put this into action, not only for your internship this spring, this summer, but throughout your career journey. So thank you for that. Now, you kind of hit on some of this already, but what are some practical tips for building relationships? What are some of the things that you do? Which you've already, like I said, you already gave like 3 or 4 already for this recent project. But what are some of the things that you do, but also that you've seen done by interns or mentors or coworkers that really work?
Sure. Okay. So I put here one thing is like start with a simple hello. I think that is, I think sometimes we complicate what we think it is, and it's really a simple hello. Finding similarities and common interests. What are some things that you both can talk about, right? Because that I think just sparks this kind of genuine conversation of what you all want to kind of start conversating about. I put here build relationships. It's really truly like dating, but with boundaries, right? I mean, when you get to know someone, you're starting to just kind of, hey, how are you? What do you like to do? And you just kind of start learning about each other. And then you're like, hey, maybe we can chat next week about whatever, right? So it's kind of similar to the dating world, but again, with boundaries. The other piece I wanted to talk about is follow up after the call or the meeting, right? So don't just kind of say, hey, it was great meeting you. I really enjoyed our conversation. And then you just never followed up. Like that is a big no-no, especially if there was like some really good conversation that maybe the other person's like, gosh, I really hope we can continue this, right? So taking the initiative to follow back up is important. Always say thank you and show your appreciation. I think those are just some things that people just forget to do. And it is so important. Just like a hello, say thank you. The smallest thing to the greatest thing. Again, it's just very basic things to kind of keep in mind. The other piece I have here is reach out once a quarter to just reach out. Hey, you don't. I think that's one thing that I will tell you annoys me. It's a little bit of my pet peeve is I have people that reach out to me when they want something and when they need something, and then I never hear from them again. And that is so, to me, just not okay. Like, it's just, I don't know. To me, it's like not morally and ethically, and probably those are not the right words, but I'm like, just kind of just say hi, just follow up. So I try, at least what I try to do with my mentors, even if I have not worked with them anymore, I still kind of say hello once a year. I send them a Christmas card, just kind of keeping that relationship open, because you just never know when you're going to need that person, or if that person is going to help open a door for you down the line, right? So I think those are kind of some of the key things. And from interns, obviously, a couple of things that I like to say is, use LinkedIn to definitely see people's profile. They normally have their school, their education, things that they're interested in. And most of the time, you'll kind of see that you all have some sort of common interest. And if you don't, do some research. Oh, it looks like this person, studied in a school in Spain or whatever. Maybe do a little bit of research about the school or about Spain. Like, find something to talk about. Um, if the individual happens to be at a workshop that might be local to you, or they might be in a live virtual Teams meeting or Zoom call, like, join the conversation. Then you can always follow up with them on LinkedIn and say, hey, I met you here, or I saw you at this workshop, or I listened to your podcast. Like, this is great. Like, always just kind of follow up as to why you're interested in chatting more about this individual. And then, while you're having these conversations, hey, do you have some time to do maybe 15-minute coffee chat? I think when you put 10 to 15-minute coffee chat, people are most open to saying yes. Because 30 minutes an hour could be a little much, but if you do, like, hey, just 10, 15 minutes to say hello, most of the time people will be open to say, yeah, let's have a conversation. And then from there, it goes back to the beginning of what I said earlier, is foster your relationship along the way. So when maybe a month or two down the road, you're like, I just wanted to let you know there's actually an internship in your company that I'm really interested about. Do you know who I can actually talk to about this? And you know what? Most likely they'll say, yes, I know the recruiter. Let me send you their resume. They'll be more genuinely interested in having you, because now you've built a relationship with them, right? So those are key things that I want to just make sure I mention, because they work and it's important. But you got to be genuine about it. And I know personalities are different, right? There's like introverts, extroverts. Not everyone feels comfortable saying hello, but if you don't feel challenged, you're not going to grow, right? So just kind of keep those little things in mind, because they really will go a long way, and you will be challenged the rest of your life. So it's not a one-time show. You will continue to face challenges in your life. So you're going to have to figure out how to, like, maneuver them, hop through them, pray through them, all kinds of things. So just kind of hang on tight, because the ride is not over. So hopefully that helps, Mitchell.
Oh my goodness, so much there. So I got the visualization in my mind. So we talked about the power of nurturing relationships. So you have an initial meeting, that 15-minute chat, 10-minute chat, and goes well, and you don't reach out at all again. And so just some practical things that I do, and what I try to do, at least, I'm not perfect, I'm a work in progress, but a way that I nurture relationships is I genuinely love celebrating birthdays, anniversaries, promotions, getting through challenges. So if I hear of something or I've seen something, I'm going to reach out, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's an email, a text, a call. It's just say, hey, I saw this and this, congratulations. Or I may send them a surprise gift or something, or a birthday. I'm like, happy birthday, get married, like celebrate life. Like you're all on a life journey. And so that's an easy way to connect on a human level and on a heart level, that builds relationship equity. That's what you're doing. And like you said, any relationship, and this is why we call it building relationships. So you don't get a house with one brick, right? It's going to be brick by brick by brick, and it just grows over time. And the longer you're building, the bigger the house is going to be, the stronger it's going to be, the stronger that relationship is going to be, both personally and professionally. And so this is why we have this session, y'all. So please, 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 take this wisdom and really implement it on your internships, on your campuses, and as you get that first job and second job and throughout your career, you're building relational equity with that person and always try to give more than you receive and trust. It'll come back. It'll definitely come back. So we talked a little bit about this, about some mistakes, but what are some of the biggest mistakes to avoid when building relationships, both in the early stage and kind of throughout the journey? You already mentioned a few, but have any more no nos? Yeah.
I put here, do not ghost people. Just
So
don't do
real.
that. Just be
Facts.
a genuine person. I did talk about, avoid reaching out to people when you need something. The other one kind of goes hand in hand. I mentioned here, one and done conversations is not building a relationship, right? So just because you spoke to one person one time does not mean you've already built a relationship, right? So just kind of keep in mind, again, it goes back to fostering that part of it. Um, this one is really good, is commit to what you have said you were going to do, right? So
Mm,
if there was like good conversation and you've committed to saying, you know what, that's a really good question, let me follow up with you, or wow, we just came up with a great idea, I love to really take this to the next level, and then they never hear from you again, that's not good. Or if you take like a whole month to follow up, not okay. Right? So I think just kind of being mindful of like the constant communication. It takes time, and I think building relationships, it takes really a true art to do. Just as networking, right? Because you are networking, you are really trying to make sure that folks are in your circle and your network. But those are kind of my biggest things of like mistakes to avoid. And people can tell when you are fake and when you are just like not being genuine.
well,
So if you just need to like take a step back, really think about what is my objective that I'm trying to get out of this conversation, like what do I want to get out of this relationship here, and really just kind of ground yourself there, and then things will happen. And Mitchell, I think you were really spot on that. It's not just kind of reaching out to folks when something is needed, but really fostering that piece. And I don't know how much more we can like dig into it, but I think those are going to be key things: is follow up, follow through, do not ghost, commit to what you said you were going to do. And I think that is just going to set you up for success along the way.
so rich. So rich. Now, I do want to rewind the tape real quick because this is something that we're passionate about and we're trying to get students to realize the value of LinkedIn. Like there's still a lot of, I mean, we're out on campuses, we deal with a lot of students who just aren't on the platform because they see it as old and whatever, but some will hop on when they need to look for a job or something. But how would you describe the power of LinkedIn? And then you already gave some best practices, but why should students engage with LinkedIn now? And then is there anything that they can do now that they can leverage for their career journey, I guess?
Yeah. LinkedIn, until today, it continues to be the number one platform for recruiters. We know that. And more strategies are coming from LinkedIn specifically on how we, as employers or even recruiters, are able to search for great, viable candidates, right? So, LinkedIn has done an amazing, phenomenal job to really be able to foster that. So, LinkedIn is still going to be a tool that we're going to continue to use. I don't foresee it, not being used any longer, but because there's so much innovation and creativity around that. I think it's still important for interns or students or college students to still update their information because it is a vital tool. When you're requesting to add someone, I get so many requests, and I'm like, okay, well, that's great, but it's always good to just have like a little message behind it. Hey, I'm interested in, be specific in what you're interested in. If you're just giving this like generic message, most likely person won't follow up with you, right? But if you're directly specific on what you're looking for, those are kind of things that recruiters, employers will start really looking at. And it's just really a great way to bond with folks and really make those connections. I've made so many connections through LinkedIn and continue to do so. I'm on it like 5 times a day probably, and I'm just kind of seeing like, wow, this actually organization is doing some amazing job. I want to start following that company because I want to learn more about what they're doing and their mission. Wow, it looks like Metro is doing some amazing work here with Intern Pros. Like, how can I potentially learn more so when these conversations happen, I can be more prepared, right? You're also educating yourself. And it's not so much about what is in it for me, me. The I. It's not about that. And we need to just understand it's not about you all the time. It's not about me all the time. It is about how do we make this work holistically, and how does each person, each organization, each group, each conversation going to really nurture my the way I'm thinking, the way I'm moving forward, and also giving back to others, right? So the power of LinkedIn is great. I'm sure down the road we'll probably have another amazing platform, but I think LinkedIn truly has so many different platforms that one can really access and leverage. And it's still viable. So it's not an old school tool. Yes, it's been here for a while, but there's been a lot of innovation created on behalf of them. And I'm not a spokesperson for LinkedIn, but I do enjoy it.
So well said. And as somebody who I think we met through LinkedIn actually, and then just kept in touch and whatnot. It's don't sleep on it and get on it early. We literally have had several students land internships just by posting what they've been doing on campus or sharing what they're learning in a class or things that they would like to see in the world. Like it's okay to show a little bit of yourself in terms of what you care about and because trust, you'd be surprised how many recruiters are watching you and what they're learning. And we literally have had tons of students land internships that turn into jobs at some very, very good companies and as a direct result of just being engaged on LinkedIn and being authentic on LinkedIn, not just showing your highlight reel, but just being you, because that's what we're all in people business. So thank you for sharing that. Wow, time be flying. Oh my goodness. So I wish I could spend the rest of the day with you because you just have mountains of wisdom. But let's just close it out by, is there anything that you'd like to share, elaborate on what you've already stated? One final piece of wisdom to give our students out watching across the country.
Yeah, I think one thing that has also helped me, we are all growing together, and you are not going to be the same person in 10 years. You are going to evolve, you're going to change, your perspectives are going to change about certain things. So keep that in mind that things are always going to be changing. Two books or two assessments that definitely have helped me has been Strengths Finder book, right, or Strengths Finder personality test, and also there's a DISC assessment, DISC assessment test that you can take. And I encourage you to do that because sometimes at a younger age, we're still trying to figure out what we're trying to do, what are our passions, what are our interests. And sometimes, and I'm not trying to be negative Nancy, but sometimes some dreams or those passions are not going to pay the bills. So we just got to make sure, like, can I work on something now that's eventually going to help me supplement my dream? Right. And so we got to just kind of understand, like, what does my personality look like? What are some of my strengths? What is the kind of role or job or opportunities that I can really foster to help me build that out? So the more you get to know yourself, the more you'll be able to kind of really have more confidence in yourself to really go out there and continue to build your toolbox, right? So again, Strengths Finder or DISC assessment, I would definitely say try to take it, once every 2 to 3 years. You don't have to take it like every quarter, but you'll start kind of seeing that there will be some changes along the way. I've been taking these tests probably or these assessments probably for the last 10 years, and and it just kind of helps me to kind of recenter myself, and it also validates that what I'm doing is where I'm supposed to be, right? So that's what I would probably just recommend as well.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, listen, I'm trying to stay calm, y'all. I'm really trying to stay calm. Thank you so much. You were a ginormous blessing. Heck, to me, I'm gonna rewind this and take some more notes. But to the students out there, please, 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 I need y'all to clap right now, wherever you're at. Make sure you take those notes, implement them with excellence, and be kind to yourself. Like, I know there's a lot of pressure to be perfect. on your internship to get the best internships. One of my mentors told me, listen, it's not so much where you go, it's what you do, where you go. That's in whatever school you're at, that's at whatever internship you land, maximize that thing, add value, what we say here, be an intern of impact, and then be a professional of impact. Always learn, be proactive, and just and love life and make the most out of the situation. And you hit on something earlier about it's going to be hard, and yes, it's going to be hard, but there's no muscle without that strain. Like you don't build that. And I'll end with this: you are 100% in control of what you do, of what you don't do, how you respond to what you've done, and what others have done to you. And so just take that, run with it, and you'd be surprised at how many great things that you can accomplish throughout your career journey. Thank you so much. We will hopefully have you again down the line, but thank you for your wisdom.
No, thank you, Mitchell, for having me. Thank you all again. Blessings to you all, and I wish you all the best. Again, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and happy to connect with you all. And Mitchell, thank you just for being such an amazing leader, innovator, and creator in the space. And we talked about this earlier. Like at the end of the day, for those that are faith driven, we are just the vessels, right? God is in control, and we're here to just really do what we can to help and motivate others. So thank you again for having me. Appreciate you.
Amen, sis. Take care.
My name is Shauna Namkung, and I am the Senior Manager of Entry-Level and Campus Recruitment with Fox Corporation. Part of my job entails co-managing our campus internship program, along with doing entry-level hiring, which for us is about a 0 to 3 years out of experience proposition. And within Fox Corporation, we oversee the interns and entry-level hiring for Fox Sports, Fox Entertainment, Fox News Media, Fox Ad Sales, and also Fox Technology. And thank you for having me be here today.
Perfect. So in your opinion, why are internships invaluable?
Where do I even start? There's so many reasons that they're valuable. I think, first and foremost, it gives people, an opportunity to get experience in something that maybe aligns with what they're studying or what they think they would like to do, once they're finished with school. You get hands-on experience, you get an opportunity to network with other professionals, build your personal network, and so forth. But it also is a way to try out different, types of roles. So for example, when I was going to school, there were so many different things that I thought I wanted to do. And, how do you make the decision whether you're going to go into publicity or digital or this or that, and having an internship gives you an opportunity to try out some different things and see what you really like doing. Which can be very valuable to you, once you're getting ready to graduate. And I think it, sets somebody up to stand, apart from other similar candidates because they've had some, real world experience. And, it's great opportunity to learn and grow and develop. And I think, internships are a great way to start one's career.
So what would you say is one of your underrated tips that you would give to an intern?
Yeah, I have like a couple of tips. One is not necessarily underrated, but it's super important. When you are at the point that you have made it through the sourcing process, your resume has been reviewed, and now, a recruiter has contacted you, make sure you kind of know the difference between talking to the recruiter and talking to a hiring manager. When you're talking to the recruiter, like for example, if I'm interviewing you for an internship position, I'm going to be telling you a little bit about what our program is all about. I'm going to get to know you, kind of go through your background, learn what you're interested in, and kind of what skills you bring to the table. And that would be kind of the side that I'm trying to trying to do in terms of the interview. If you're if you're meeting with a hiring manager, it's going to be more focused on the specific role, not just the internship program itself, and what skills that you have that relate to that role. So, just kind of being mindful of who you're interviewing with is, something that's important and a little bit underrated, but really most importantly, and, it goes without saying, whether it's an internship opportunity or if it's a full-time opportunity, really do your research on the company. Let the company know why you want to be part of their organization. If I talk to somebody, for example, with Fox Entertainment, and they tell me that they don't know what any of our programs are or they don't watch TV, then I wonder, well, what about our company is, attracting you to apply? So make sure that, you bring something to the table that sets you apart, that shows that you're excited about the company or about the opportunity and makes us excited and want to have you join us.
Oh, good. Perfect. Now, I guess we're pretty much done. I just want you, so tell us, I guess we have a ton of students watching, or will be watching. Tell us about the Fox Internship Program. Why should they, apply, and what are you, in your opinion, what sets you apart from other internship programs?
Yeah, I think, well, just to kind of just briefly describe our program, at Fox, we have interns that work year round. During the school year semesters, it's a 10-week part-time opportunity, working anywhere from 16 to 24 hours a week. We have interns that work in all different areas of the business. So, really any major has a home at Fox. You might be somebody who's doing computer science. So we have a lot of technical, roles available. Maybe you are interested in writing and you're interested in, content creation, that, that you would be able to find a home and so forth. But during the course of the summertime, it's a little different in that it's an 8-week program. And during the 8 weeks, interns will work anywhere from 32 to 40 hours a week. In both cases, whether it's school year or summer, great opportunity for hands-on experience. Again, so probably something that, aligns to your interest or field of study. Great opportunity to get hands-on experience in those different departments. But what we really pride ourselves on is our campus team puts on a lot of additional programming for interns, so that they can learn more about the company, about different opportunities within the company, also, with their professional development. So we have master classes, and those are presentations and panels geared towards enhancing an intern's knowledge of our company and the industry. We have professional development workshops, which are, geared towards enhancing the career development aspect. We do utilize our internship population as a pipeline for future full-time opportunities. So we are looking to identify great talent, to help develop that talent, to hopefully retain the talent, when you're ready for full-time opportunities. And then we have different networking opportunities for interns, different kind of casual events to get together, just, which helps enhance building your professional network. Because what some people don't realize is really valuable with an internship program is you are going to make a lot of connections with your peers, and you're all going to graduate within a year or two of one another. Most likely you're going to get into industry roles, around the same time. So sometimes the connections that you make with your fellow interns can be so valuable to you, down the road. And then also with these events, there's opportunities to network with different professionals, within our company. So we really have a true program, and it's not just a job that you clock in and clock out of. And if I didn't mention it already, all of our internship opportunities are paid opportunities. If you need to get college credit as well, we can set that up, but it's not credit in lieu of pay. You still get paid.
You killed it. I guess if there's anything you'd like to add.
Yeah, I have worked in the campus space for, a good amount of time now. I love working with college students. I love seeing all of you make your way in the world, and maybe you're getting your first, real job, or maybe it's your first job, within your field of study. And I just love being able to work with the intern populations and just, seeing all of you as you advance with your career. So come join us at Fox.
What's going on, everybody? Mitchell Leach II, founder and president of Interns to Pros, and welcome back to the 2022 Internship Success Summit. I hope y'all have been enjoying the super dope conversations we've been having, wisdom we've been serving out, and listen, we got we got something special going on right now. So buckle up. I know y'all been taking a lot of notes. Flip the page, go to the next tab in your phone because my man JD is here. And so rather than me introduce him formally, because I'll just start yapping about how dope he is and it take up half the time, I'll have him introduce himself, and then we're just going to get right into this tremendous conversation for you all. JD, what's going on, man?
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me. I appreciate you, and I appreciate the platform and everything you're doing. So excited to get into it. I guess I will introduce myself. I'm first lesson, always be humble in your career. So I've done a lot of cool things, but just happy to be here and happy to be talking to everybody today. So my name is JD Tominski. I've been an entertainment professional in the industry for about 14 years now. I started my journey as an intern at MTV News back in the day. And eventually that led into an opportunity with HBO, Columbia Records, which is under Sony Music, and then Def Jam, which is under Universal Music Group, where I was serving as the VP of Digital Marketing and Commerce. I've had the pleasure of working with, incredible talent, incredible platforms and TV shows. I was working with iconic HBO shows like, Entourage and Game of Thrones, when it first started. And since then, in my music career over the past decade or so, I've been working with everyone from, J. Cole to John Legend to Beyonce to Justin Bieber. Really great experiences. Some of my favorite campaigns over the years have been, J. Cole's 2014 Forest Hills Drive, which was a pleasure to work with J. Cole. Humble, successful, incredible human. Another great one was 2 Chainz's Rapper Go to the League album, which was a collaboration between 2 Chainz and sports icons, across the industry. And I always reference that because it was such a special campaign. But, those are just 2 off the top of my head, but so many to think of.
Tremendous. Well, a person doesn't accomplish what you've accomplished without the heart, the drive, being proactive, and something that I'm really hyped about, and something that we try to show the students that are watching is the power of an internship. Like, this is why we have this event, the Internship Success Summit, because outside of graduation, I believe, and we believe here, that the internship is the second most important element of your collegiate journey. So I guess let's dig into the internship stuff first, and then we'll kind of weave a little bit more in there. How would you describe the power and importance of an internship, and then how should students maximize it?
Incredible thing to have. I mean, like you just said, incredibly important. But why take on an internship if you're not going to maximize and take advantage of the opportunity? I mean, as simple as that. So, I'm the type of supervisor that when I get interns in, I empower them to contribute as if they are full-time employees and part of my team. I don't think, everybody, acts the same way, but that's just how I do things. So incredibly important, but more important is what you do with it once you get it. So, once you're in there, not being afraid to speak up in public forums like meetings or one-on-one sessions or things like that, taking the time to, establish true connections with people at the company that you're working with. Internships are generally, 2 to 3 months at a time, generally speaking. So what are you going to do to make, these folks remember you in just that short amount of time? So establishing, genuine relationships, also, being strategic, talking with and establishing relationship with the HR reps at the company. So when it comes time to, hire entry-level folks, they'll be thinking about you even subconsciously versus, a bunch of other people who may be applying. So just taking the initiative to go above and beyond is just, paramount.
For sure. Now you were an intern yourself, and I want to let's rewind the tape a little bit. So go back to JD the intern. What
Yeah.
was your approach? What are some of the things that you did? You probably followed your own advice, not knowing you're going to be giving this advice at this event, but that's another story. What would you say? What were some of the things that you did as an intern that helped you take that next step in your career?
Sure. Well, yeah, I was given an opportunity at MTV News back in the day. Certainly very relevant at the time that we're talking. So we're talking back in 2007. So the evolution of MTV has changed a little bit, obviously. But at the time, I had no connections to anyone. Just sort of applied and got it through a phone interview. But once I was there, I think I had about 8 to 10 interns working under the same umbrella. So what do you do to stand out from the pack? I volunteered to go to shoots and help set up things and do the work that other folks didn't want to do, and really just try to maximize those opportunities. And it came to a climax at the end of the internship, when I stepped out of the box and spoke up in a meeting. I said, here's an interesting story we should think about. I presented the story, and I wound up being the first. What I was told is I was the first MTV News intern to ever, pitch, produce, edit, and publish an on-air story in the history of MTV. And that story was on a relatively unknown hip hop artist named Wale at the time,
What?
who
Oh my
was
god!
working with Mark Ronson. So I was in tune with what was going on in hip hop at the time, and I saw him bubbling, and I pitched this whole thing, and it was Wale's first ever national news story piece. So again, just not being afraid to speak up, going above and beyond, putting in the work, and just sort of going for it. I could have been reserved and just sat back, but I wanted to maximize and do what I could.
Wow. Now that is the essence of why we do what we do at Interns to Pros. We want students to approach an internship like that. Now, you gave a phenomenal example in your own personal journey. You've dealt with a lot of interns over the years. What are one or two success stories that you can share on what they did and that really put an impression on you and helped them in their career?
Yeah, it's the same narrative, just going above and beyond. So I had an intern named Natalie, who was the president of her school at the time in New York City. She was under the digital marketing team. We were looking for unique ways to touch college campuses with a film and a film soundtrack that we were working on. And basically, we put it in her hands to come up with creative ideas. And one of the things she came up with was bringing in her entire school to have a screening at her actual college. So she had a screening of this film, brought in artists who worked on the soundtrack, and we had a great opportunity there. So she stepped up and had a film screening, had artists from the actual film soundtrack come in. She had her whole school come in here, and it made a really big impact on our rollout and what we were trying to do. And we followed suit at various college campuses across the country, and it was a really strong success. Natalie wound up getting a job on my team,
Mm.
and she's since moved on, and she is a leader over at RCA right now. And one of the biggest things she's working on is very topical. She's working on this artist named Steve Lacy, who has the number one Billboard hit in the country right now and is primed for some Grammy nominations. And she's doing a whole bunch of great stuff. But that's just an example of someone who went above and beyond. She could have just sat there and just sort of not contributed, but she figured out a unique way to present and market our film and our film soundtrack, which was really great.
Wow.
um, I've had other great people. This guy Karu was on my team. We didn't have a job for him after he was done with the internship. However, we did hire him as a consultant. So he worked on various things that we worked on, and contributed in his own way. So even when there isn't direct job afterwards, there are other unique opportunities to get involved and stay in touch. So that was another success story. And then, another guy, Jake, just left for another big job working with great artists. But all these folks had, some of these same things about going above and beyond and being genuine and, really trying to make an impact versus sitting back and being, content with, just being there.
So good. I'm just smiling because I can visualize all of these students going out there and listen. An internship, you have a small window. Those 8, like you said, 2 to 3 months, 8 to 12 weeks, and that's it. And there are literally thousands and thousands of students from across the country who would love to be in your shoes, more than likely. And so when you're there, be proactive, go above and beyond, and don't underestimate, mastering the fundamentals. Do your job well, and then find ways where you can make an impact. Like JD, you said towards the last part of your internship, you make the pitch and blah blah that led to Wale. You know what I'm saying? Like that's such a big framework that you have to have. So thank you for sharing that.
For sure.
So you mentioned a couple things. So one thing I do want to get into, what are some of the biggest mistakes that students should not make during an internship opportunity?
Yeah, there's a couple things that come to mind again with the narrative that I've been speaking about, but sitting back and being lax or content with just being there and doing the bare minimum is the biggest one. So I've had plenty of interns come and go who, quite frankly, I've forgotten about or we haven't thought about since they left because they kind of just went there and, did whatever the task was at hand, but, didn't really attempt to make an impact beyond, the things that we fed them. So, just doing the bare minimum is the number one. Again, like you just said, and like I said earlier, you have a small amount of time to make a big impact. So what are you going to do in that time and how are you going to maximize? The other one, which I've encountered, unfortunately for some of the interns, is when you're working in entertainment, specifically in music or, film or TV or whatever it is, we work with a lot of talent. So, being inappropriate or not knowing really how to act around talent is, it's not a skill set that's really learned, in school, but, just using your head and just being smart about, being appropriate when it comes to working with, high level talent. This talent is with us for a reason and they don't want to be, made to feel uncomfortable in any way. So, things like, taking pictures or stopping them and talking about nonsense or making people feel uncomfortable. So those are two things off the top of my head that I can certainly think of when it comes to mistakes.
That's good, and it's a really good segue to our next topic, and we've talked about this during the event, the art of building relationships. And you are somebody who one of the best I've seen in terms of building relationships, nurturing relationships, having wisdom with relationships. And you just mentioned a great example as an intern that starts now. That starts today, even on your campus. Like building relationships and how you steward that is imperative. So I guess what are some of your tips in terms of how to build relationships early in your career as a college student, but also kind of throughout your career journey?
So the number one thing throughout, your entire journey when you're establishing and building relationships is being genuine in those relationships. So, I get hit up all the time from young people, colleagues, older people on LinkedIn and emails and cold calls and things like that about, pitching me or, wanting to have 5 minutes of my time or whatever it is. And you can really tell when somebody is making an effort to, make a genuine connection versus, just going down their list of people and sending the same, copying, pasting the same thing and sending it to the same person over and over. So I pay attention when, people make personal comments about, my resume or things I've posted about or something a little bit more specific that lets me know that they're actually tuning in and they actually care versus just reaching out and seeing who will respond. So establishing genuine relationships is the number one thing for me. So obviously, when you're on your college campus or your school, wherever you're at, you don't have immediate physical connection to people. So obviously, using the internet, using LinkedIn, using socials to connect with people, and really having conversations and figuring out who will talk. And genuinely, there's a lot of people who want to talk, but there's people that also don't have time. So I'm talking about professionals who don't necessarily have time. So if somebody responds and says, sorry, I don't have, 30 minutes to chat, maybe just go back and say, hey, maybe there's someone on your team who would love to chat, or someone, at the company who may be able to if you can't. And I appreciate you for getting back to me. So, just using, communication skills and being genuine is super important. And all this is really important because in various industries, especially music, entertainment, things like that, they're very small industries. So tapping and establishing a strong network throughout your entire career is really important because you're going to wind up working with those people. Here, over here, or wherever. I have a lot of people who work with labels who now work at places like TikTok and Twitter and YouTube and different places. My former boss at Columbia is my partner manager at YouTube, and she's the one who helps me, get great programs for our artists and things like that. So just keeping in touch and keeping that network strong throughout your entire career is really important because you're going to wind up working together somehow, some way, and you never know how they're going to pop up again. So yeah.
That's good. Nah, that is something that we try to, and as a reminder, interns to pros crew, make sure you are authentic. Make sure that you treat everybody with respect and with wisdom and how you would want to be treated, even as an intern. And so, especially also your fellow interns. So
Yeah.
as you're on your internship, yes, you want to really get to know your managers, the different coworkers or whatnot, higher up, but don't neglect building strong relationships with your fellow interns because that's your crew. Like you guys are going to grow together in your careers together. So I can't even tell you how many fellow interns I had that we're still in touch today. I try to help them out with stuff. They help me out with stuff. And we just, even if we don't do none of that, we just really enjoy each other and enjoy cheering on each other's careers and just lives in general. So keep that in mind. So talking about career growth and impact and things of that nature, you've had a heck of a career thus far. Something tells me you just getting started. You got a lot more to give this world just in general because you're phenomenal. And you've been able to turn an internship to a job and just really accelerate and impact on multiple fronts. What are some of your greatest tips, I think, for career growth, for impact, and just some personal lessons that you've learned along the way that have really helped you in your career journey?
Yeah, I mean, there's one common sense one that you actually just mentioned, that should go without saying, but isn't always that way. But just treating everyone with respect and being a stand-up person in this industry. Again, like I said, some of these industries are very small and people talk, and if you have a certain reputation, people may not want to work with you or be associated. So a very, very, very basic human human impact tip is just treating everybody with respect and being a stand-up person, following through. There's folks in certain industries that can start to develop an ego. You got to keep that in check. So that's number one. The other thing is, for career growth, having a forward-thinking mindset. So being able to evolve and go with the flow of your career, and not boxing yourself in. There's some people who I've encountered who don't want to grow as a professional and as a person. And as a result, they don't have that career growth. So making sure that you have a forward evolving mindset, and being able to, learn new things. I graduated with a degree in communication studies, but I've been doing everything from advertising to social media to sales to marketing, everything. And I've sort of just gone with it and learned along the way. So, have a forward thinking mind and don't be afraid to learn. Going off of that, self-teaching yourself things as well. So there's so many different skill sets that you may not get, throughout your college career or your schooling or whatever you're doing. So, there's so much that you can teach yourself to becoming a well-rounded individual in business and personally. There's formal things like online certifications and, classes online that are for free that'll help develop those skills. And I always mention that to, students and folks that I talk to. There are also ways to beef up your resume a little bit. So there's official online certifications from Google and Facebook and, various companies that you can put on there and that are, genuine and can help you. And then other career tips, just this is a personal one that I follow. I don't know if it's one across the board, but just establishing a personal brand for yourself and building it out. So you can do that, physically and visually. So, creating a unique portfolio website, creating a logo for yourself. On my personal resume, I have a branded QR code in the corner that links out to my portfolio site where you can see more that you can't fit on a resume. But building all those things out and establishing a brand for yourself is something that I definitely recommend for young people and interns that are looking to develop their careers.
Oh my goodness, JD, that yo, that's some good quality stuff there. And this is the goal of why we serve you guys out there, is because we want you all to be fully equipped for your journey now. And it starts now. The internship and your college experience is your career foundation. And trust, your branding starts there. We're gonna remember how you showed up and went above and beyond on your internship. We're gonna remember what you did for your student organization that you helped serve in. We're gonna remember all of that. And so as you continue to learn and grow, and you hit on something, JD, that is invaluable. Be an ongoing learner. Like, never stop learning. And I remember being at ESPN, JD, and on the smallest end, and I would set up 1 to 3 informational interviews a month, and not just within my group in sports production and TV and all of that, but I would go over across that huge campus in Connecticut and talk with marketing, and then talk with programming, and talk with sales. I would go to the New York office. I would go to LA office because I genuinely wanted to learn about people's careers, but then also what they did, and then how does this fit? How can I better make an impact where I am, and so I can better serve? And so be really be proactive. Never stop learning, because listen, the world never stops. There's always something new and a bigger impact that you can make. So my gosh, JD, I blame you. The time just be flying with quality people like you. So here's what we're gonna do. Is there any final pieces of wisdom, if there's something you want to elaborate on in terms of the hundreds of students we have across the country watching? What final piece of advice you'd like to share?
I mean, it goes along with some of the other things I've said throughout this. Just recognize that your career, it won't always be a straight road. It'll be windy, not always smooth sailing. Just because you graduate with a degree in something doesn't mean that's what you're going to be working in forever. Be able to go with the flow and evolve with your career as well. That's how I sort of sum up my career, is just sort of evolving as the time goes on. Week to week, month to month, year to year, it's always something different. I'm never staying, stagnant. And I think that's really important for any intern who's going into their professional career. And, at the end of the day, it should go without saying, but just to reiterate, just be a good person with genuine intentions. It's as simple as that. People remember you, people respect you, people want to work with you as a professional. So as simple as that. And truthfully, the reason why, folks like us, speak to interns is, these young people are the future. They are going to define business and the corporate world sometime. And we look to you to lead the ship at some point. And until then, we're here to teach and share our wisdom, and hopefully, we can all grow together.
Wow. Well, I couldn't have said it even better. JD, you have been phenomenal, like I knew you would. Thank you for your heart and you what you do both on stage and behind the scenes for so many people. Is truly something that should be celebrated. So all the students out there, I need y'all to give it up for JD. And thank you again for joining us and taking time out of your busy schedule to be a blessing to us all. Thank you so much.
Sure. I appreciate you. And if anybody has any questions and wants to reach out, just search my name and you'll find me on all the socials, LinkedIn, all that. And hopefully we can have a conversation someday. But, appreciate everybody and good luck with your journeys.
Appreciate it. Take care.